There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Daily Sip. As I've said along the little banner at the bottom, it's our fashion double bill after we had Gemma yesterday. And I hope those of you that watched it enjoyed yesterday's. And if you haven't seen it, it will still be on the Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn channels forever, or as long as those platforms are alive at least. So it should be a long while. So yeah, we're going to be touching on fashion again. And today, first of all, I'm going to welcome my guest, Victoria. So thank you for joining us.
Hi, Martin, and everyone watching. Thank you for having me. My name is Victoria. I am a designer and a garment technologist, but more importantly and more relevantly, I am the creative director and founder of Unhidden Clothing, which is launching soon, but it's to do eco and sustainable clothing for disabled people.
Awesome.
So a proper adaptive wear that's stylish and also responsible.
Yeah, love that. That's already can tell it's going to be a good chat today. Some really interesting themes there. And so the disability, why do you have a hidden disability yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't really have a collective name because it's more a case of having 11 different conditions. So it's kind of just generally all of them combined make it a disability thing. I didn't even really realize that applied to me until about 4 years ago.
Okay.
But essentially it's all abdominal issues, IBS. I have a paralyzed stomach, which is called gastroparesis, some colon issues, some bowel issues, some vein issues. Yeah. My insides keep me busy.
Sure. And I mean, we touched upon this yesterday, this notion, obviously with Gemma and myself being in a wheelchair, it's a visible disability. And so, a lot of people, they see it immediately, and there's the whole navigating, people just asking random questions and that kind of stuff. And I think, when as I was growing up, there was so much work about someone like myself with a wheelchair to have the world more accessible. But I feel like the last, I'm going to say 5 years, it's not an exact time, but there's obviously been a great job of, particularly for wheelchair users, but more visible disabilities. There's a lot more awareness, but I think it's good that there's been more awareness recently for hidden disabilities.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, go as personal or not personal as you want, but as a general sort of awareness raising campaign, what have you seen the difficulties to be for people with hidden disabilities in terms of public sort of perception?
I think it's that whole "you don't look sick" sort of problem, and sort of people saying, "Oh, have you tried yoga?" or have you eaten kale? It cured my aunt's cousin's wife or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of that almost not believing that there's something very wrong, especially if you're mobile and walking around. And I think with work as well, that's one of the things that's a problem, because you go for a job, and I've gone for job interviews and worked with clients and been very upfront about my health issues. And because I don't look sick and I'm there, they're like, great. And then a few months down the line, when I'm still sick, they're like, oh, you really don't get better, do you? And it's lost me work before because of that. So yeah, it's quite annoying. And I think also, especially with bowel issues, it's the whole bathroom thing of not wanting to stand for very long. I mean, I only recently got a radar key, but I've had to stand in queues outside, like a concert. And I've been in the queue for the disabled toilets and sort of seen a gaggle of girls in front of me that just didn't want to queue for, the girls.
Yeah.
Say, are you actually disabled, or should you be in the other queue? And then I then have to almost flash either my scars or divulge everything that's wrong with me, so that
which you shouldn't have to do, right?
I shouldn't have to explain, but I think most people are so used to it. I mean, I've been stopped going into sort of a bar with my medications in my handbag. Sometimes they think I'm taking illegal substances, and I'm like, I'm happy for you to hold on to these until I leave, but I want a medical note with them, and they can't, you can't throw them away, basically. And then they usually sort of relent. But
wow. Yeah. So in terms of the public perception, I totally hear that there's this kind of, if you do the right things, you get better, surely. And when you're not getting better, it's like surprise. And so I know if you mentioned the job thing, I can imagine that being, it's obviously double difficult, because that's the sort of route to financial independence and this kind of stuff. When you just then talked about accessible loos, and I'd have thought, there's a lot of need around accessible parking spaces for different, not just yourself, but within
Yeah,
that community of hidden disabilities. I would imagine that sometimes things around other people in the disabled community understanding it, because obviously for me as a wheelchair user, if someone gets out of the car in an accessible parking space and is not visibly inverted
yeah,
commas disabled, like, yeah, it's kind of, this is more a general point. Like, I've never had a go at
mm,
anyone in my life, I don't think, but I can imagine there's that sort of awareness raising
there
within
is.
the community as much as externally, right?
Yeah, I mean, you see sort of reports all the time. I certainly do in some of the sick, chronic sick groups that I'm in, and people, they come back to their car and someone's left a note saying,
Yeah,
I
right.
can really walk, you don't need this space. And you're like, who's got the time to be that angry to go and get a note? It's, and it's probably someone that would absolutely use that space anyway.
Yeah,
So it's, yeah, it's really difficult with public perception, I think, because you really, I mean, even if you're known for it, even if you're really good at raising awareness, you still have to tell someone and, divulge really personal details to get people to understand
yeah,
and
yeah,
be less judgmental, I think, as well. And it's usually, I mean, especially when it comes to bowel stuff, it's all that embarrassing things that, being British, we're all told not to sort of talk about the bathroom, generally speaking.
sure.
But it's,
But
it's
it's so,
something,
but it's so, you know, like, it's a basic need. It's a dignity. It's a human right. And yet,
exactly.
rather than sort of the almost segmenting of visible or invisible, like, there's different challenges, I think, around accessible
Yeah,
toilets, like for me to you. But like in the end, it's about that basic access to a toilet.
yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
how in 2020 can it, be so
Yeah,
difficult to
I
find
know.
a loo, basically, that is okay?
Yeah. I mean, there's still, like you go to especially in London, you go to a restaurant and they've got a disabled loo, but they're usually using it for storage,
Yes.
and you can't even actually physically get to it.
Mm.
And they filled it with bar stools and all sorts. Like, yeah, I mean, I try now, whenever I go out, if I see, even just a little, like not a ramp, so I'm like, well, a wheelchair user can't get in here, right? So I'll tell the staff. But I mean, I know people that have gone to restaurants in their wheelchair for the staff to say, oh, the disabled toilet's out of order. you
Yeah.
know so but we'd still love you to stay for dinner. It's like, why would you stay and give money to a restaurant that's
Yeah.
not taking care of a basic need? You wouldn't dare ask an able person to go to a restaurant and not give them a toilet.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Exactly.
you can drink and fill your bladder, but you can't use the loo.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
I mean, and this, I don't know how much you've sort of picked up from different things I've been involved in, but there's this big movement of the business case. I think there's always should be the moral right thing to do case. There's been the legal case since the Disability Discrimination Act in '95, and it's basically the Equalities Act since 2010. But
Yeah,
yeah, it still wasn't fixed. And then there's an argument that, like you say, if you want me and all my crew, my entourage, whatever it is, to come to your restaurant or your cafe and spend our money that enables you as a business to flourish, then, like, yeah, there's certain access requirements. And we spoke earlier in the week with Chris Veach that's a lot around accessible tourism. But he always talks about, he's always banging the same drum, and that drum is about customer service. And it's like,
yeah,
even when it's not perfect for access, there's still that thing about just having the nous and the common sense to just, as a customer, what do you need, and
yeah,
how can we help you have a good experience?
exactly. I think
Um,
someone's just saying, we're not doing it right, hold their hands up and say we haven't got it right, help us. That
yeah,
so much more.
yeah. I was also interested because at Purple Goat, we've been working on a project around medicinal cannabis, and I wasn't really aware of this till this recent project came to us. But it's become legal, apparently, to have cannabis for medicinal
Mm.
use, but the cost as a prescription is prohibitively high, and so
Yeah.
most people can't afford it, right?
I mean, I do know some people that have gone down the road of sort of making their own, but obviously obtaining illegal cannabis to make their own oil from it. And,
Yeah,
people that it's desperation, you know, because it does have some really good pain qualities. Is that the right word? But it's, you know, it's really helped a lot of people. And you can take out the sort of psychedelic, I think it's the THC. I can't remember if that's what it's called. You can take that bit out. So it's not like you're suddenly stoned, you know, it just does all the other things that herb can do to help your body. And I mean, as if disabled lives aren't hard enough to give us a prescription and then make us, you know, the one that's really expensive. It's just it's not that accessible anymore, is it? And it's not like everyone's trying to buy it to get high.
Not everyone. Yeah, no, and I think obviously this is a very quick touch point for our conversation, and there's a point there I want to expand a bit more in a second. But I think also it would be when the time's right, I'll get the person campaigning around this issue to come on the show, because I think it's sort of like you and I probably have got that top level knowledge of it, but sort of not the depth. But no, it's an interesting topic area. But because also, I mean, if toilets are taboo, you know, cannabis is illegal. But yeah, there are people, as you've said, and I've become aware that it's actually really powerful with the pain and that kind of stuff. So that I'll look into trying to get that person on the show in the future. But the point to expand on is, so they're looking at like a card that would sort of show in it that you're allowed, that you have that prescription sort of level. Again, I'm not going to go into all of it, but the point is that how do people prove that, like in this instance, they are eligible? So that's a very specific use case. But like blue badges and all that kind of stuff, there are criteria, but it's not always a catch-all for everybody that needs it, right?
And I think they're so open to abuse as well. I mean,
that's the flip side.
Like I bought my radar key and I thought, you know, maybe I'll have to provide some kind of information about why I need it.
Yeah.
Nope. And I thought, well, that's, you know, I know I've been making masks since the beginning. And one of my friends, his girlfriend was working for a charity that was giving out badges to, like, medically exempt badges for people that couldn't wear a mask. And you know, they'd maybe have 100 orders a week. And then as soon as Boris made that announcement that they were mandatory, they had 4,000 in one day, and they were not from people that needed that medical exemption.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, so they had to close it down. They had to close down the whole service because you know, it was impossible for them to spend that kind of time checking that everyone really needed it. You know, it just made me so angry.
Actually, I got an email in this morning from the Disability Strategy Unit. I think they're called it. It's a new unit in government that's all about disability. And they've done some like animations to do with the sort of do's or don'ts, all right. So I think just to make it clear what the rules are around mask exemption, I haven't looked at it yet, so I can't say exactly what's on it. But like, I mean, even if the guidelines are clear, you've got that double side that how do those that need it prove they need, in this case, an exemption?
And I've seen, I don't know if you've seen, there's a lanyard with sunflowers on that you're supposed to be able to buy, and that's meant to be proof that, like, if you see that and recognise it, you know that person doesn't need to wear a badge. But again, they can be bought by anybody. Yeah.
Actually, then that's quite a nice segue. It's similar but different. But the sunflower lanyard started at Gatwick Airport, and I know a lot of the supermarkets have adopted it, and that's very much around customers and passengers with hidden disabilities. Do you know a bit more about the sunflower lanyard scheme?
I don't know the complete ins and outs of it. I just know.
Sounds like another interview topic, anyway.
I'm like, no, I know. Like I've seen a few posts around it, and because I think I would know more if it was relevant to me, because I can wear a mask. I haven't sort of stepped into that arena so much. I've already seen people posting that they know other people that have bought it that didn't need it. They just didn't want to wear a mask.
Yeah.
So I think it's that whole, it just needs to be tightened up so that it is a bit harder. But I think it's not like you want to put in your medical NHS number or anything like that. But if you're just told what to put in, like, people can Google problems and just say, I have this illness. And again, like, how would you say that they don't? So like it's wonderful that it like in terms of accessibility that it is a great scheme, and I think it's relatively new enough that it's still worth doing for people that really need to.
Yeah,
But then it's more abled people need to recognize it more so than like other sick people. We've all usually, you've got a sort of nod, wink, wink. We all know what's going on with each other, but it's the rest of the world that don't know.
Yeah. So is that balance of those that need it, but then like not having the abuse of a system for the people that don't need it, which I mean I can imagine is not easy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
I
want
know
to
that,
be doing a website for that or building that kind of platform. It must be a headache.
yeah. Like my auntie has had ME for I don't know how many years. It's got to be about 20 years, and trying to get like the benefits side, like PIP, personal independence payment. It's like, yeah, she can walk, like she can walk, but it doesn't mean that she can walk far. And on a bad day, in a way, she can't walk really on a bad day. But it's so fluctuating and different that system that's trying to stop fraud has gone the other way, that it stops some people that need the help as well.
Strict. Yeah, I mean, I don't qualify for it purely because I live with my partner, and they basically it's means tested, and which is why disabled people don't even have marriage equality. If you have benefits and then you meet someone and marry them, then your benefits might be taken away. That's I mean, I find that pretty horrific in itself. But yeah, I don't qualify because I live with my partner. But I mean, I started the process of PIP, and I got so far through it and thought, it's kind of a given. Everyone understands you will get rejected and you have to reapply, and that you might go through that process at least 2 other times before, sort of, because to be honest, anyone that does manage to fraudulently use that system is a genius, because it's hard. It's a hard form to fill in. It's really, really difficult, and the criteria are difficult. And I think they've gone a bit too far trying to stop people taking the mick. I think, it's dreadful. And I feel sorry for your aunt, because ME is, I think steps have come a long way now with ME and understanding around chronic fatigue. Whereas before, that used to be sort of the joke. People used to be quite happy making jokes about ME, and you're just tired. It's good to see, I think, a bit more awareness coming around that now.
There's as we said at the beginning, there's definitely been more positive awareness around these sort of disabilities. I'm just going to go, we've got quite a few comments coming in, so I'm just going to bring some of them up, and then we're going to get into clothing and fashion in a more depth. But it's been really, really fascinating conversation already. Miles just is asking me what I'm up to today, so I'm currently chatting with Vicky about this very interesting topic. But nice to have you there, Miles.
Hi, Miles.
Rob, the hierarchy of disability, when we were talking about sort of visible and invisible disabilities, very true. And he also says, comment, you don't look disabled. Answer, you don't look stupid.
I love that. That's so true.
That's brilliant. And Andrew saying, great debate.
Thank you.
Mark saying, hello both. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
I think Andrew's asking any tips for managing this. I'm not quite sure what point of our conversation that was around. So maybe, Andrew, just feel free to clarify the question there. Ross, radar keys can be bought on Amazon or eBay.
You can even buy them in Boots. I saw stuff in Boots, and I thought, well, there's nothing to stop anyone buying it, is there?
Yeah. And then Ross says, in employment, it is borderline illegal to ask someone to prove their disability. Same should apply elsewhere. If you're the kind of person who fakes disability, then good luck and look at yourself in the mirror. We got a lot of comments on this, Vicky. This is really interesting. Rob, I think the lanyard scheme was started with the airport, then adopted by some soon. But that's what I believe as well, Rob. PIP. I was going to mention that, Vicky, that I'm not sure PIP is means tested. There are lots of others that are, but I think
it might be the one. It might be that the one that I was applying for was means tested, because that's
there are other ones as well.
Apologies.
No, and again, like you're not the main chat today. Who's sort of going to move into clothing and stuff, but I think it's great. Again, it's great to raise awareness, right? But I would also say to people watching, check out like Disability Rights UK. that kind of website has got all the benefits, all the details. Ross, interesting. If you work, you are penalised too. If you don't work, you get everything free. Disabled facilities grant, for example. Yeah, that's true. Michael, good to see this topic being discussed. A big bank cough are launching this too. So Ross is a mate of mine and he works for a big bank, hence the cough. But they're launching something in this area apparently soon. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Cool. That gets us up to date with all the comments. But thanks everyone for the comments, and get any questions in as well. But yeah, so moving things forward a bit, Vicky. Like obviously, my big thing is around Instagram, YouTube, influencers, and how it changes perception. So I think we've definitely touched upon that part of it already. Yesterday and today it's around models of diversity and fashion as well. So it'd be great if you could just tell us a bit more about how you got into fashion and some of the stuff you've been up to in that domain as well.
Okay, lovely. So, I mean, I studied fashion design at university, graduated in 2008. And at that point, I was not disabled. I didn't have any of the issues that I have now. And then, God, I have to go back 8 years ago. I had an ulcer that I didn't know I had, and it burst, and, hole in the stomach, and I nearly died. And then I was still trying to work in fashion as a garment technologist and just getting sort of sicker and sicker, other surgeries, various bits of me removed. And then I was in hospital with a woman who had survived ovarian cancer, and she had a stoma, she had a PICC line, she was being fitted for TPN. But whenever the doctors came, she had to take everything off. And I just thought, no, there's got to be a way around this. I mean, my job is the construction of garments as a garment technologist. So I thought, there's ways around this. So I started researching it. And while there is some adaptive clothing out there, it's generally aimed or made from the perspective of carers or, the elderly. There's not anything really fashionable or young that doesn't look super modified as well, And I just thought this should already be a thing. And that was 4 years ago that I had this idea for Unhidden. And we're now, I think I've done more in the last 6 months for Unhidden than I have in the last 4 years.
Not anything to do with a pandemic or something, is it?
Yeah, I think it might have been something to do with it. Now we're having our first samples made, and we're hoping to shoot our campaign to crowdfund in the middle of September.
Oh, wow, cool.
And we're hoping to work. I came across models of diversity whilst I was doing my research a few years ago, and I'd had conversations with Angel before, and then this year when they started looking for a brand ambassador in January, I was like, I'm in. I think obviously everyone else was doing it from like a model point of view. They wanted to sort of be represented, and it literally didn't even cross my mind. I just thought, no, our beliefs align so much. I just wanted to work with them. We probably will be using half of everyone that they have to help us shoot our campaign.
Yeah. So in essence, it's around the clothing line that I'm presuming it's about, that they do look nice and they're stylish as opposed to some other adapted wear, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to name any names of adaptive wear, but it's just, it's all a bit, and none of it's sustainably or ethically or made either.
Yeah, because you mentioned that at the beginning,
and also, because it is, it will be sort of more expensive for that. And I believe in paying the garment workers as well, having worked in the industry for so long. And, obviously we all know that fast fashion is slowly killing the planet and people. So we will also offer an option to adapt people's existing wardrobes. So, because I think it's something like, this is not the correct number. I probably should have had this stat correctly in my head before saying it, but it's something like 80% of disabled people aren't born disabled.
Yeah,
which means
about right.
A lot of people that have already got an entire wardrobe of clothes that suddenly no longer fit them or are uncomfortable. So I want to be able to help, so they don't have to go and buy a whole new wardrobe. And I'm also now trying to work out logistically how I can teach people to adapt their own clothing as well within the parameters of disability, not just people that want to shorten the trouser leg, people that need a longer sort of rise in the back for their trousers, or people that need to be able to get into their sleeves, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So actually it's, in the end, it won't just be the the hidden disability community only?
Oh,
Like,
no, this is everyone. This is as many
yeah.
people as I can help. Within one garment, I try and sort of see, right, if you had this problem, what would you need, and go tackle it from that perspective.
So on a personal level, one of my main care team is someone called Eileen. She's 71. She bikes quite far to work every day to help me. And so I've always been disabled, but I would say I'm happy to say publicly, got a bit of a bigger belly the last couple of years. Maybe getting up to middle-aged spread or something. And like it was getting uncomfortable. So I then looked on the market for adapted stuff, and yeah, like we've just said before, the style is not the best, and the marketing, which is my purple goat advertising hat on, just doesn't represent me. Like,
no, it doesn't.
I'm not in my 70s and living that life at the moment.
Sort of someone's caring hand on a shoulder, and sort of they're there like in a with a blanket over their legs or something. You're like, not all. I mean, it's astounding, really, that no one has covered it more. I mean, Tommy Hilfiger has done an adaptive range.
Yeah,
I think they're relaunching it in Australia this year. But from what I've seen of it so far, it is mainly magnets put into things. So it's like easy access to get it on, not necessarily tackling everything else.
No. And so to my point to Eileen is she's added longer zips to my joggers and jeans, and like taken the hem up at the bottom.
Eileen, hero.
but we've often said there's a need for this because not everyone has an Eileen, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what you're doing is very much what I was looking for prior to being very lucky that Eileen is able to do it.
Well, if you do need any help, then by all means, send it my way.
No, brilliant. And I just think you're absolutely tapping into a really big need there, which is fantastic. And it's good to clarify that whilst the inspiration came from the use case you talked about in the beginning, which I'm sure is still very much there, but it's wheelchair users that need that higher backs and all that kind of stuff.
And it's all the seams that like you don't need back pockets on trousers, and to sit on it, especially if you've got lower sensitivity, can cause a lot of skin problems. So it's removing all the things that don't need to be there. And even you look at when you're sat down, trousers aren't designed for when you're sat down. So there's all of the excess at your front hip that you don't need, and then the same at the back of your knee. So the patterns that we've got, they've removed all of that. So you've not got all this excess fabric everywhere. It's literally built to like shape around a sat down body.
Yeah, that's nice to feel heard and understood, actually, Vicky, because it's a problem I've been dealing with for years, but you just do it silently, because it's like you could look online and there's nothing out there until now. So
now.
Obviously, I'm a very keen entrepreneur. I'm into that world as well. So how are you finding the sort of business side? Have you been able to get grants or access to other expertise or investors or anything in that world, or is it like literally you bootstrapping it at the moment?
It's a bit bootstrapping it. I've got two other guys that are sort of friends of mine that approached me to sort of all join up forces, one of whom is a doctor. So we're kind of privately funding this sort of collection to then crowdfund, because we really want to use it to also grow the community. Like the more people know what we're doing,
that's clever.
Then sort of it spreads the word a bit easier for them. And also, I mean, it is a good idea. And I think the problem if we opened it up to private investors is them being in more control than we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially because I want to be ethical and sustainable, it just means that I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I want to know who's touched what when.
Yeah.
I think I'd start to lose that if sort of money got funneled in from other people and they had more control over it. They'd probably be telling me we could do it cheaper here, and that's as maybe, but it wouldn't necessarily be ethical then. So it's for now.
I think that caution is correct. I would say like the right investor that has the same values would be a double whammy, but then it's finding someone that
I would love an angel investor who just wants to invest in something good. If you're out there,
that
would be fantastic. But otherwise, we'll see what we can make happen. I've worked in industry long enough and have a decent-ish amount of contacts, and it's been really well received from people that have heard about what we're doing so far. So fingers crossed that continues.
Awesome. That's really exciting. I'm going to go back to a few comments. Ross just clarified that it was the sunflower lanyard, the big
so
bank.
they're
I'm not
in.
sure, I can't say the name, but I'm not, if he's saying a big bank cough, I'm not going to say the name in case I get in trouble.
Fair enough.
Rob said fashion, that's me out. And what he means is, he means from his perspective, like not because of you. He said, I'm now on elasticated waist trousers, help.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do have elastic in the back of them, but it's not the whole way around. It's you would, because at the end of the day, it is a bit easier than really uncomfortable fabric that doesn't move around your body.
Yeah. And then Michael said, read this morning, disability is a club you join in life and die a fully paid up member. There's an article on LinkedIn.
Very good, Michael.
Yeah, and it's a really good article. I'll share it on my link. I actually copied it and then got distracted and forgot to paste it as a status update. So, but I saw that, the one that Michael's referring to, I read it as well. And it's your point about 80% of people aren't born with a disability, but then they become disabled. So yeah, it's a really interesting narrative there. And Rob says, I have to buy trousers, then take them straight to the tailor to make them fit. I pay twice for one pair of trousers.
Yeah, see, imagine if that was all already in the one pair of trousers. It just makes life easier.
2 for the price of 1.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So, God, there's so many interesting things you're working on, Vicky. I don't know where to take us next. But I mean, for people watching, what's your big message you'd want to get out through this conversation today?
I think reach out to me or to you to find out more. And, I mean, anyone that's watching this that's able-bodied, just start to consider it, start to think what your life would look like if, you lost a limb or you became sick or you were hospitalized and then that became your life.
Yeah.
The more we need, it's like you can't ask the people in that situation to advocate only for themselves. We need people that it doesn't directly affect to also consider accessibility needs.
Yeah. I think that's because we've been having a lot of chats at Purple Go about how do you break through society's consciousness about disability and not only have it as a victim conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, hashtag not your inspiration porn is sort of one of my favorite phrases, everyone being like, inspiring, you're doing this despite, or, and it's like, no, we're still valid exactly as we are with all the illnesses going on. We're still valid. And, yes, it's unfortunate, annoying, and it can be super depressing, but it doesn't make us any less worthy.
Exactly. And I think that valuable bit's helpful to, like, as you say, sort of talk about it's not all bad, terrible, whatever, but it's still like how you pierce that consciousness. And I think this idea we've debated that people, like, as people get older, they may not ever identify as disabled, but they end up with health conditions that ultimately, under the Equalities Act, they are regarded as disabled.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you think people using walking frames when they're elderly, we see that as a given, but you don't necessarily go disabled. So if you did want to call it that, essentially everyone will end up disabled by the time they're old.
Yeah. And I think, like, for you, you'd have like a product. The product is the same because in the end it's about that comfort and adaptions and all the rest of it. And then for me, like, the marketing would you'd have an older person's marketing campaign where, and I still think they could make those a little bit better than they are, to be honest.
The thing is, it doesn't mean that just because you're older you don't want to be stylish either. Like, it's just it's bad on so many levels. But I think it's someone seeing a need, fixing it, but not really thinking about expression. I mean, so many people take it for granted that you can wear what you want and express yourself however you like, and it's just that dignity side of things, of being forced to wear clothes that are painful or uncomfortable because no one's catering to your need. I just think that doesn't need to be the case.
Yeah, agreed. Cool. Well, where can people follow your work and all the latest news as it unravels excitingly?
There's so much. So Victoria is Unhidden is my Instagram handle. There's also Unhidden Clothing. There's a website for that and an Instagram page. and on LinkedIn. But there's also a form within the Unhidden website for people to fill in needs that they might have within clothing. And, you know, I read all of it, so it will end up developing and being part of the future collection. So if people can fill that in, that's great. And if you want to buy a mask, then Victoria and Studio, also on Instagram.
Sure.
And I'm launching a course today under victoriaandstudio.com around technical fashion for people that want to start their own range. But I also have a few masks through there, and I'll be updating people about various things I'm up to, probably through that as a sort of main channel.
Could you, when we're done, just copy paste a couple of the key links into the thread? My personal Facebook and my LinkedIn is sort of where there's probably more engagement. And if you want to do all four, there's YouTube and Twitter as well.
Oh yeah, I'll go for it.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Thank you for that. Just it's helpful for people that go to click through rather than sort of try and work up the
remember and type it through. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And do you know when the clothes? From my own perspective now, when they'll be available? Because I'm interested.
Well, it depends. That's the problem. I don't know how long. Like if we smashed our crowdfunder target really,
on the crowdfunding, yeah.
So the crowdfunding we'll be launching that definitely by the end of September.
Okay.
I mean, reach out. Like I'm happy to start tailoring people's clothes before then. So that's something I can absolutely do.
And I think launch is after crowdfunding.
Public launch will be I mean, I'd like to be in production by the end of the year. But thanks to COVID and funds and so it's so unpredictable. We just don't know where we're going to be. So I don't want to tell people a date and then be wrong. But we will be launching on crowdfunder by the end of September, and I will be harassing everyone I know to share that information.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me know when it's ready, because we can obviously get some of the influencers that we work with to help spread the word as well.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, unless there's anything else you want to mention, I think we'll wrap.
No, I think it's all good. God, it went so quickly.
I know. I told you, right?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, everyone that's been watching, thanks for all your very engaged. Actually, I think the hidden disability stuff is something that we need to keep raising more awareness on. And thanks, Vicky, for being so open and candid about that. I think that was really struck a chord. And then obviously, the fashion side as well. I think it's a very much needed solution to an ongoing problem. So
yeah, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone get in touch with Vicky if you've got any questions or needs after today. And I'll be back tomorrow. It's Friday, I think, tomorrow. Don't know where the week's gone now. For another episode. And in the meantime, have a lovely day. Bye, Vicky, and bye, everybody.
Bye, Martin. Thank you.